Hi everyone, a very good morning to all of you. Today we're going to all be talking about our favorite topic, love. So I'm not going to waste time giving you my gyan. We have three really prolific artists, creators, writers, game changers on this podium. And I'm going to start with my very basic question. What is love according to you? You- Pehle aap, pehle aap, pehle aap, pehle aap.
You decide, Maria. Who do you want?
Why do I have to
Okay,
decide?
you're the
I'll start.
moderator.
That's
There,
fine.
Shivani
That's
is
fine.
going.
I can start.
Done.
To me, love is expectation. Love is jealousy. Love is possession. And where modern love becomes a problem is we're not supposed to say these things anymore, right? And can we change our synapses and our impulses as fast as society wants us to change? That is my question. That is the
That is
problem in
your-
modern love.
That is okay. No, I just
Anyone?
want to know love. What is love according to you?
Well,
You
I'm
know-
modern, so
Ah.
First of all, I don't know why I'm on this session called Modern Love because I'm on the wrong side of 40 and I'm not sure I'm terribly modern. But to me, first of all, hello Jaipur. It's great to see you all again. The last time Shivani and I did a session here, we were up against Shashi Tharoor and we had like 35 people in the audience. So it's really nice to see a full house.
he
again.
inspires more modern love than we do.
But more seriously, I think modern love, we make the mistake of thinking that love is just romantic love when we talk about modern love and we talk about the different kinds of sexuality or stuff like that. But I think love is so much more than that. Love is something you have in a community, love is something you have for your parents. Some of the most intense love affairs, I think, are between friends who grow old together and spend their last years together. So I think in the modern world, we kind of put all our expectations of love on the romantic relationship we have with a boyfriend or a husband or a wife. And that puts so much pressure on that one relationship because we want that person to be our soulmate and do everything with us, share our interest. And it becomes almost claustrophobic, in fact. Whereas I think the best way to experience love is to look for different things in different people. I mean, there are things I share with my girlfriends which I don't share with my husband. There are things I share with my husband that my family has no interest in. So you have to kind of spread your bets far and wide if you want to have a well-rounded love in your life.
That's very well. That's very well said.
You're leaving the last
Anish,
to me. I've
Anish,
been
I just
thinking
want to know
about-
what, according to you, is love.
Listen, I've been thinking about this for a very long time. It happens when you're single for a while. You start thinking about love a lot more. I think, in many ways, I agree with you, Seema. I think love is especially about crafting families of choice. It's about exploring ways to love those
Yeah,
in your life
absolutely.
beyond these romantic boundaries, especially when romance is on the thinner side. But I think in many more ways, building upon what you said, Shivani, I also have been thinking a lot about how love is submission. I think there's a certain way in which you fall in love when you sort of have to give way to this heady idea of love that doesn't really make much sense. And with it, all of these conflicting emotions and these passions and these experiences that require you to leave aside momentarily, if not completely and permanently,
Yes.
the idea of any sort of logic to love. And I think that's when you know it's love.
So, since our session is about modern love, that I know nothing about, I just want to pose the same question to all three of you. What is the difference between classic love and modern love now? What is modern love?
I really don't know. I'm assuming that by modern love, I think, at least the way I look at it, you're looking at a more inclusive definition of love. You're not just looking at like a heterosexual love. You're looking at people who are on the spectrum. There are people who are maybe non-binary, people who are homosexual, people who are gay, or there are so many different ways in which love expresses itself. There's so many asexual people on the in the whole thing. So I think that traditional idea we had of love, that boy meets girl, they fall in love, they get married, they have 2.5 children, and then the children in turn fall in love with their partners, and then the whole cycle continues. I think we're kind of going beyond those binaries, and we're trying to embrace difference in the field of romance as far as possible. I'm not sure how far we are succeeding, because I think there are still a lot of there's a lot of resistance to those ideas still in certain pockets of our society. But to my view, I think that is what defines modern love. And also the sense that there are no rules. Like, it's not like if you are in love, you have to get married. You don't have to. You may live together, you may not live together. You may be married and yet live in two different cities. So it's a far more fluid concept, which I think is only a good thing.
What about you, Shivani? Do you
Picking
have-
up on what she said,
Yes.
that it is a very fluid concept, I'm going to be a little traditional here and say that within the bell curve of whether a person is cruel, keeping if all other things are equal, I think we have reached the point of too much choice. I mean, obviously, there was a point when our grandparents, they had no choice at all.
Yes.
But does the ability to choose between anything and everything make you happier? I don't know if it does, because ultimately, this uncertainty and this it's counterproductive, because somebody is always looking for stability. People are always looking to be loved back. I think that is the basis of love, that I love and I love back. And if you know that a person can leave you for not being in the same space as you at a particular time, I don't know how much more happiness that gives than being unhappy with somebody for ages and ages, but some periods of happiness, some periods of unhappiness. I don't know. So to me, modern love is not necessarily all positives.
Yeah, and I agree, because I think, like you said, Seema,
You're the only young person on the
young
panel.
person,
Thank you so much,
feel
Seema.
very
I
old,
appreciate
yeah.
that.
I feel very old at heart. I'm 70 at heart. I'd like a cup of sherry in the afternoons. But I watch Yes Minister.
Yeah.
But modern love, I think, is about throwing the rules out, right? You're
Yeah.
throwing the rules out of the window. If you don't like a rule, you can go away with it. And that leaves you with chaos, like you said,
Yes.
Shivani. I think you're now on a dating app and you're swiping through 1,000 people a
Exhausting.
day, and you don't know what that's going to lead to, or how.
But
that's
is
even
that
going to-
love?
So,
But no, I'm saying that's how you're finding love now, right? So you don't
So-
have any rules about.
I actually think the first love affair we have is with ourselves, because everyone we meet, we are reflecting what we feel about ourselves. And as I said, within the bell curve of cruelty, a really evil person, we can change the person in front of us, but as long as we don't have happiness within us, nobody else can give us that, right?
Yeah.
So that's quite old-fashioned, I know.
That
I'm a
is.
Karen, if you're familiar
So-
with the term. Yeah.
So, taking from where Anish left off, modern love is associated with dating apps. Now, I just want to ask the audience here, how many of you have been on dating apps? Nice. So let's pose this question. Modern love, dating apps. What are the rules of dating apps?
What is
How
an app?
safe is it? What is an app? I love that.
Have either of you used dating?
I've been married for 20 years.
Oh,
So no, okay.
So Anish, we're
Yeah,
gonna
really, this one person is
this
being asked
goes
this
to
question.
Anish.
But that doesn't mean I can't
So,
go on and on
yeah.
about it.
I was
Obviously,
just-
I don't have to know anything about it to say anything about it, Anish.
Dating
Obviously, yeah.
apps. What are the rules of dating apps? How safe is dating on apps? Relationships. How do you navigate a dating app when you are single? Is that the only way to meet people today?
I think it's very different depending upon who you are. As a gay man, dating apps are the wild, wild west of the modern love world, right?
Okay.
And I think as someone who came out abroad, I was in New York for 4 years doing my undergrad. I think my experience with dating apps was this sort of experience of wild sexual liberation and abandon, where at many times I did not even know the name of the person I was meeting before I met them, and barely sometimes knew their face. So, there's a certain way in which you navigate these apps without any rules, because you can, that allows you access to experiences and a wide variety and large number of people.
Is it safe?
How many cis women, straight women in the audience here can ask that? They should be answering that
Anish,
question.
I have another question. That did it leave you happy at the end?
No, it didn't, right? So I think
That's the important question.
there's been a point at which, you know, you go through cycles. There are times at which for 1 year I'll be like, I'm off dating apps. And it's like, you know how everyone does dry January and by the 1st of February they're already like
No.
on for drinks. It's like that. Then you
You
go
know,
back
But
to
do you find it's more of a transactional thing, or do you find it
No,
romantic?
I found my last 2 boyfriends on dating apps. So
Yeah.
it's the wild wild west, right? It can go really well. I'm not a dating app hater. I think they can be incredible spaces.
Anish, tell me this, because what I would consider problematic is that when you meet someone on a dating app, they're putting forth the best versions of themselves, right? You haven't seen them IRL in real life, a term I just learned from my 12-year-old daughter. So, yeah. No, but you know, when you see such a polished version of somebody, and the thing with social media is it's the obliteration of failure, right? You never see anything which someone doesn't want to show you. And nobody can live up to that,
No,
right?
but I have a 3-day rule. If we've started talking, then we need to meet in person in 3 days. Otherwise, we're wasting our time because I don't want to know the online.
So is this an unwritten rule of dating apps? Like
This
you
is now
generally,
my
I think
rule.
that's
You get to
Anish's
create your own
unwritten
rules.
rule.
sorry?
I think that's Anish's unwritten rule.
So you get to create your own rules, which is more fun.
But then this brings you back to the thing. If somebody else doesn't know what those rules are, it's more heartbreak, more confusion.
Absolutely.
So basically, dating apps, like he said, is the wild, wild west of the singledom world, and navigate with care.
Yes.
Navigate with care is what the consensus is. Now we get to social media. I think today social media has taken over everyone's life. And I think it lays out possibilities that may or may not be true, because you really don't know how real somebody is on their social or digital media. It is, I think, mostly an advertisement. But how has that affected love today? You know, because what you see there, how is love today expressed or consumed by people? You know, do you think social media has affected the way we express and experience?
Well, if you ask me, I think love on social media is very performative. Like, you may be sitting next to your boyfriend, but you'll still post a picture saying happy birthday, darling, instead of telling him happy birthday while he's sitting right next to you. And if you go on holiday, you're more concerned with getting romantic selfies than necessarily enjoying the moment with each other. So I think social media has made all of us, actually, not just young people, not just lovers, all of us very performative. We want to show ourselves as enjoying ourselves, as leading the best life. And I think that actually creates a very false impression of what love actually is, or what relationships actually are. And when younger people, especially, enter into that whole space of getting involved with somebody, they have these very rose tinted view of the world. And it's like a recipe for disaster, because nothing can really live up to that rose tinted view of the world.
That's very true. Shivani?
You know, I actually quit all social media 14, 15 months ago as an experiment to myself. And what I've gotten out of that, which I think would not be there in a modern dating app, is I see everyone with fresh eyes. So when I'm seeing Anish today, I don't know what he's posted in the last year. I don't know what he's been up to. And that gives it a freshness, right? And I go into anything without a preconceived notion.
Yes.
So to me, that in social media is, you know, if somebody posts something that you're a little about, you just won't call them, but that's
And
not
you carry
their whole
that, and you
personality.
carry that impression.
right?
Yeah.
And also, I think it makes relationships, you know, the instant nature of relationships very fragile, actually, because a person can just ghost you, never see you again. I mean, frankly, I am quite relieved that I don't have to do it. Okay, very frankly, okay, yet.
But you're also, I think, seeing a sort of tempering of that initial head rush of social media, right? I think
Yes,
a few
yes.
years ago, everyone was trying to put out their best self. And I think there's a certain sense of fatigue that's also set in. So people are being more honest on social media. You're cutting down the amount of time you spend. I do still see people who have couples Instagram accounts, and I always know immediately that's going to end in failure.
Couples
I'm like, divorce-
Instagram, I've never
Couples
heard of this.
I
Instagram
want to know
account is
what
the most
happens. You know, like
cringe
divorce lawyers now need to get into the IPR sections and be like, who gets control of the Instagram account after
My
you break
word,
up?
I've never heard of such a thing.
So it's
I also say my word, so I'm clearly from another generation altogether.
so you know I think everyone's learning how to navigate, but people are realizing that this is a little much, even for like continuing any sort of sane dating existence. So you're seeing a tempering of it.
You think so? You know, I always feel that social media gives us couple goals. Now those couple
There's
goals,
nothing I find more terrifying in the 20
now those couple goals, how
goals.
does it affect? Because that is what everybody is reading, that is what everyone is consuming. How does that affect you as a writer, as a creator, as change makers? How does that affect you in what you want to put out in your narrative that you are talking
Well,
about?
It provides a lot of grist to the mill, certainly, because I mean, there's a lot of stuff to make fun of. There's a lot of stuff to satirize, certainly, because some accounts can be pretty, shall we say, extreme in the way they portray themselves. But to be honest, I'm not that bothered with social media so much. I think it's mostly. I feel a little concerned about younger people who are entering social media because the images there are so filtered and so perfect that they often create a kind of a body dysmorphia among young girls, particularly.
Yes.
And I think that's terribly dangerous because believe me, nobody looks like their Instagram profile picture. I certainly don't. I probably don't even look like my profile picture for my column because all these things are curated and presented and they are not reality. And yet you have a whole generation that's coming in and thinking that this is how we are meant to be. And you have kids as young as 18 and 19 going to dermatologists and asking for,
Sometimes
treatments
younger.
treatments. And I think that is what is concerning. I mean, if two actors, for instance, want to make a big show of their love for each other on Instagram, it leaves me cold. I couldn't give a damn, more or less. But it does concern me that the pictures that we are seeing have such an insidious effect on the younger people watching because, frankly, I'm certainly too old for it to affect me. And hopefully, somebody who's in their 30s is sufficiently, mature not to be affected. But an 18-year-old necessarily doesn't have that worldview to understand that it's not reality, it's fiction.
For them, it is their reality. I learnt about the Sephora obsession of young girls from my 12-year-old daughter. There are 12-year-old girls using retinol, and it's common across the world. How are they finding out about it? But going back to what you said about couple goals, what I find terrifying about that is couples have to be aligned in those goals and present them to random people at all times. And coupledom is not always
And
alignment.
seek affirmation.
Yes. And from whom? For what?
Strangers.
And what if one person is not that into it, which it's a problem, right? And I think couple goals change about every 7 years. So to me, all of us shed our skins every few years, right? I'm not the same person I was 7 years ago, 10 years ago. And all we can hope for is that the compatibility sustains. And that's luck, because I think one thing we need to discuss in love is luck. You have to have a lot of luck to find the right person. But let him get back to the
Anish, we have to ask you couple goals.
Yeah.
Not just that, Anish, you are doing amazing stuff for the community, and you are putting forward so many things that you want changed for the community. I want to understand from you. Your couple goals are completely different. You're fighting for a cause that is absolutely different. So how do you put your agenda forward? How do you kind of present what you want?
So I think to start off, right, a little bit building upon the previous conversation, is that while social media can also be an incredibly toxic space, it can be a space where people are influenced the wrong way, it's also coming from a space of lack, right? It's filling a void that a lot of young people are finding in their lives where they don't have answers to a lot of things. And sometimes it can be a beautiful space. Like as a queer person growing up, I did not have access to any queer narratives in the mainstream media. And social media and the internet was where these narratives existed. For a lot of people, there are pages like Project Anti-Caste Love on Instagram where there's narratives of anti-caste couples that simply don't make it in our institutional sort of publications or any of the sort of mainstream sources that we consume. So I think there's a certain way in which these publications...
it's
these
very
sources-
important what Anish is saying, because I think people in, for example, smaller towns who want to come out, they don't have
Absolutely.
that support in their in real life network. And I
Yes.
think that is the positives which must always continue. They,
And I think they
Yeah.
are definitely shaping a lot of the views of my work, right? So as someone who runs an organization like Pink List India, where we do a lot of work on LGBTQ plus rights and politics and sort of present demands, I'm very clear that as a cis gay man who grew up in Bombay, I don't know what the right way forward is. That has to come from people in the community, and I can act as a catalyst because I know the politicians and I can present these demands to them. And what's surprising is you're seeing so many young kids, and like you said, right,
Yes.
they're coming from tier 2 and tier 3 cities,
Yes.
Yes.
and your sort of engagement is high as there because they have a complete lack of physical safe spaces.
Yes.
You know, I have no problem wearing a jacket like this and beautiful socks and coming off to Jaipur
It's a
and
beautiful
prancing
jacket.
around.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, it is a beautiful jacket.
I was fishing. But
You got it, yeah.
thank you. But I have no problem. But that's not a possibility for so many
Yes.
people. And I think learning from them.
So I think what you're also saying is couple goals for everybody is very different.
And couple
Couple
goals
goals is
for,
very
I'll tell you in the marriage equality debate, right?
Yeah.
So the couple goals, why did people in cities want marriage? Because they wanted tax benefits. Why did queer couples in villages want marriage? Because they wanted police protection when their
Yes.
families came after them. Same goal, marriage. We want marriage. That's a couple goal. Very different intents, very different priorities, and very different importances. So I think these are the ways in which in a country like India, these couple goals, even for lots of us, right? Depending upon what kind of stability you're looking for, what stage of life you're in,
Yeah.
I've seen those change for me. Like you said, you shed a skin every 7
Absolutely.
years.
Yeah.
And they change because you realize that you need a partner for a lot more things than just that romantic love.
Yeah, to open a bank account, you
Yeah.
need to be you need to be married to open a bank account together, joint bank account. These things matter.
Yeah.
I mean,
More than that, you need if something goes wrong with you, your next of kin should be
Yes.
your partner, no matter what his or her sex is. That's the most important thing, in my opinion. I think even inheritance fades, but if like your significant other is in hospital and you have no rights
Yes.
on his treatment, I think that is the most heartbreaking thing anyone can go through.
And I was very anti-marriage until the pandemic. And I think as a young person, these don't come into your
Yes.
radar, right? Okay, I'm thinking bank account later, who cares?
But
Pulling
it
a plug
matters.
later.
It matters.
And
yeah.
during the pandemic, you just saw so many people who were
So
not
many,
allowed to
yeah.
visit their partners in hospital.
We're
And
not
that
allowed.
then strikes you, right?
Yes. So coming back to our personal lives, all of us, of course, are creatures of habit. We're all creatures of what we feel deep inside us. I just want to know that how has your personal love life affected or probably inspired your work life, or impacted it?
Well, I'm married to a journalist and a writer. So I think we have that in common, that we share each other's work. So if I write something, he would be my first reader, and his opinion is something I would take seriously. And similarly, if he wrote something, he would certainly show it to me first and would take my opinion on board. So, in a sense, it helps when you're within the same field, but we are probably not a very typical example because most people do different things.
Yes.
So I don't think mine is example is of much use to very many people. But definitely my personal life and professional life do really intersect at various points.
Yeah, they intertwined.
Yeah.
I've
Shivani?
been married to a lawyer for 20 years, right? And we have different interests, lives, and so on. But I think in any marriage, if a person gives you the space to do what you want and be who you are, and actually the funny thing is my husband is a very critical man. And some people would say, oh my God, you should always support me. But I had a session yesterday and he's the first person I called after that. He'd seen it online to say, was I okay? He says, yeah, you're okay. Now I can trust somebody's opinion. Like he will tell me, you were really bad, like give up. You know what I mean? So I think in a partnership, one of the things we should look for is somebody who can give you genuine feedback and doesn't have to...
And be truthful.
Yeah, and I would say I won't say marriage is the only stream we're talking about here. There are a lot of things that come into a long-term relationship: money, children, family illnesses. And if you have somebody who you can trust when things go wrong, it's not a very romantic thing to say, but that's really all we're looking for.
I think that's
A
the
kind
most
person you
romantic
can
thing you
trust.
can
That
say.
is.
Go wrong.
That is.
He is a saint. The man is a saint after 20 years. Very few people will say this, okay?
I love this. Anish?
And very similarly, Seema, I think previous partners have always been collaborators on projects, sort of involved very directly in things that I've been doing. I'm very much someone who likes to be involved in whatever my partner is doing and create something together.
I think what I was asking, not just help from your partner or not just support from your partner, but when you fall in love or when you fall out of love, how does that impact you as creators?
I'll let you know when it happens.
So I think that who you fall in love with is not your choice, but how you fall in love and how you treat that love is your choice.
Yes.
And the way that it inspires you is by making your life better and making you see things in a kinder way. So I think, as Seema said, when I fall out of love, I'll let you know, and I'm sure I'll be quite hateful. But
So we're going
until
to
that
so we're
point-
going to go back to Anish.
As the only single
Anish
person
is the only
here,
one here who can
Heartbreak
give us
is- hold up this
all
whole
is great.
perspectives.
Heartbreak is great for creativity.
I agree.
Great.
I agree. That's
A
the line.
plus.
Heartbreak is great for creativity.
I would highly recommend crying and writing. I read Giovanni's Room after Heartbreak, James Baldwin's most excruciatingly beautiful yet deeply painful novel. Paris, this first boy I'd ever kissed had ghosted me. And I cannot tell you, it felt like the end of the world, and I wrote so beautifully after. And today I can't even remember why I was so sad.
Have you read Call Me by My Name?
I
Andrea
have read
Ackerman?
Call Me by My
That's
Name.
That is
another,
so beautiful.
I would not go through heartbreak just for better writing. That would be rather inconvenient, but it's good to
Very
know.
inconvenient.
I'll keep it in mind, okay?
All of you here, in fact, I think every one of us here is an artist. You scratch the surface and there is something beautiful that always comes out. But since we have three really prolific people sitting here, I just want to ask you, what is it that truly defines you? What defines your soul? Is it the love that you carry that defines
You really
your
should have
soul?
given talking points for this conversation.
Okay,
Maria.
or is it your work? Is it your professional work that makes your soul sing, or is it the love that you carry in your heart?
I'm going to let you
don't
go first with that.
I don't think my professional life would define my soul, but I cannot think of a life that did not involve writing in some way. Because if I don't write, I feel there's something missing in my life. It may not be writing for publication, it may not even be writing that I show to anybody else, but it's important for me to have that space to put my feelings down, to put my thoughts down. So I certainly wouldn't go to the extent of saying that it's my soul, because there's so much else that goes into it. But I think writing is a very integral part of me. And if it were to be taken away, then it would certainly be heartbreaking for me.
Okay.
But since you posed a question which is in itself a session, I'll ask you about the paradigm in philosophy. Socrates, dissatisfied or pig satisfied? I think for me, I am a pig satisfied. If my life is in one piece, I have good health, which is the crown on anyone's head. My children are in one piece. That's literally all I need to make my soul sing. Nothing else.
Beautiful.
Bapre, this is a very...
It's getting
Yeah,
no
yeah.
Anish.
I think
Come on.
in many ways, for me, a lot of the work that I do is very geared towards doing what I love most, which is meeting people. I love people. I think the work that I do both in politics and a lot of the writing just allows me to meet so many new people all the time. And I think that's what's feeding my soul. And the rest of it is accompaniments, accessories.
That's beautiful.
Tell us about yourself, Maria.
Yeah,
What's
tell
your
us about-
soul?
Listen, this is
What
not
is
about
feeding
me.
your soul, Maria?
It's
No,
about,
you don't get
it's
off
about
as
the
easily.
three of you. Guys, aren't we here to listen to them?
No.
No. This is going one-sided. You're supposed to not side with them.
Come on, tell us.
Wait, Seema. I just want to ask you. Modern love stories are the way forward. I think as writers, you have the power to change what people think. So how can you help people change their mind by not sticking to probably stories of stereotype or then use the normal cliches?
Ideally, no writer wants to use normal cliches. Nobody goes out there and writes a book, says, hey, let me write a book with all
that's
the
true.
normal
But
cliches.
sometimes you need to follow a path, and probably you think that if I write this, it won't be accepted. As a writer, you also want to be accepted.
So then you're
You
getting
know,
into the
I-
zone of self-censorship.
Yeah.
Sorry, let me just...
I don't think when you sit down to write, you're necessarily thinking of what people think when they read it.
Yes.
You're writing because there's something you want to say.
True.
I think there are lots of times that you don't even think of the end product. You're just putting your own views. Like if you're writing fiction, for instance, nobody sits down to say, I'm going to write an Amazon bestseller or something like
Absolutely
that.
not.
I wouldn't
People
mind.
write what they want to read. I mean, if it happens, nothing like it. But
What I wanted to know is there are so many narratives out there. We're fed with fairy tales. Basically, when all children are fed with fairy tales, and reality is absolutely a different pill. So how do you kind of bridge the gap?
I don't think that works like that. I think everybody writes what they know. I think Anish would write his experiences. Shivani would write from her where she's coming from. I would write based on my life experiences. Nobody goes out and says, I'm going to write a book about a homosexual couple because I want to change views.
Or
That's not the way
Yeah,
it works.
or I
And
would-
it doesn't read well either then.
Exactly. Then it's didactic more than anything.
And so much of writing is what's in our own heads. So much of it is for ourselves. People don't often realize
It's
how
mostly
much is it-
catharsis.
Yes, for ourselves. Absolutely.
No, I completely get that. I was also thinking that today social media plays such a big role in everyone's life. It's kind of everyone has it. It is good, but I also feel in some ways it gives people the wrong assumptions about how life is lived, how relationships are behaving. It gives you various I would say truth and lies. I just want to understand from your point of view. How much PDA should be acceptable?
How much PDA? I think none, I think.
So
Honestly, I don't need to see it, but if somebody wants to do it, well, full power to them. You always have an option not to look.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
Yeah, so
think-
there's no point being judgmental. If you want to post PDA, please go right ahead. I mean,
this is a moment of change as big as the invention of the wheel or the printing press. I think the way we are speaking now about social media, as in I'm a student of history, you can't tell right now what's happening. It's in retrospect we'll know what we did wrong, what we did right. And I think as with marriage and parenting, we're all just bumbling through it.
Yeah, do whatever you want as long as you're not getting caught under the Obscenities Act, please.
Okay.
Very, very bad.
We-
call.
That's
need to
oddly
know about
specific.
that. No, but it's wonderful. I think all of us have been truly enlightened here. I think what we
I
should
don't
do
know
is...
about that.
No, I think I've got a lot of answers from all of you that I'm really happy about. I just want to know our audience here. Lots of questions. Here. Fantastic. Can we have some... 1 minute. Is there anybody going into the audience with mics?
Yeah. You have to choose the person.
Oh, no, why don't you all choose the person?
Oh, then I...
That's the moderator.
Oh, I have to choose the person. Okay, go from the front. There. The gentleman in the blue. 7 minutes.
Good morning, everyone. I believe people are becoming more individualistic and isolated these days, and this could be well observed in societies like South Korea, Japan, and even other cities in India. How would you address this shift in the society that poses challenge to the love and not just romantic love?
That's why people are on apps also, no? You're not there only to find love as much as you're there to find friendship. And then eventually, from this panel, Pyar Dosti Hai, you end up finding friendship. And that's what love transcends into. So I think you're seeing that reflected in modern love as well. That people are craving companionship of also a friendly kind.
The gentleman there in the blue shirt. Yes.
All you guys are very young. I've got every hair of mine grey. I'm on the wrong
Sir,
side.
so do I. I diet.
I am 76 years old, and I am still falling in love, but not the way you talk about it. You make it sound intellectual. You make it sound digital. In this Instagram world and social media, that is not at all love. I am still falling in love. I am falling in love with people at the right side of 40.
Good for you, sir. Good for
And
you.
the only thing that holds, I am in love with my son. He's in Paris. I'm in love with my daughter. She's in Japan. And granddaughter, even more than that. But I am falling in love with others also. My wife is at home. I'm a one.
I'm liking his life already.
You see, none of you here know me. But I am falling in love at this
Fantastic.
age. Is it correct? And I'm seeing people, I paint, I draw, I do painting in watercolors, in acrylic, And the lady I'm falling in love with, I walk past every morning and I want to paint her face. That is what I want to do.
I am so happy.
That is modern love, sir, as he just said.
is
Yeah.
modern
It
love.
is not love what you're talking about. It is not intellectual. It is not digital. It is emotive. You feel for somebody. I am a straight guy. I'm not a gay guy, but I understand gay people. But
Okay, thank you,
I think
sir.
it's too long.
Hi.
Oh, there were two with the glasses at the back. The one with the curly hair. Yeah, that one.
She was raising her hand for me.
Oh, was she? Okay, okay.
Same
Thank you.
question.
All right.
Sisters, so it's fine. It was just, I know you guys have spoken a lot about how different modern love is compared to classical love, but what's been the same? What's been, how has it not changed? What is...
So that's what I started with, is that the instinct of love, jealousy, possession, those things don't change. The desire to possess somebody doesn't change. So the modern age may go on and on about, we have an open relationship and we have this and we have that, but I don't think people necessarily are ready for that. They want some level of permanence, commitment. And it's probably not very fashionable to say that, but I do think they do.
Yeah, absolutely. What you said, submission. Right in the beginning.
You said submission.
Who said
Yeah.
submission here?
Yeah, I said
You said submission.
I'm not owning that, yeah.
Have you by any chance been talking more about managing love than love?
Isn't that what love is?
I'm asking you.
I'm
I
going to
think-
ask, let Seema take that question because she hasn't had any answers.
I don't understand what managing love means, but I'm assuming you mean making love long lasting. Is that what you mean? I'm not sure what managing means. But whenever you enter into a relationship, which is what love essentially is, according to me, I don't really call love just, having a date with somebody or meeting someone on a dating app. That's not love to me. It has to be a long lasting relationship. And in that, you do have to manage expectations, your own and the other person's. You have to learn how to get along. You have to take the rough with the smooth. You have to know how to get over fights. You have to know how to communicate with each other. So in any relationship, and to me, all relationships are love relationships, management is an essential part. When you're in love with your mother, you still have to manage her expectations of you. She says, come back home at 10, and you say, no, I'd rather come back home at 12. That's still management. So
Yes, I think our last question now, because we're running out of time.
Hi, can you hear me? Yeah. Anish, this is specifically for you. Since you are working at the forefront of equality rights for queer community, as a part of queer community in India, most of the places in tier 2, tier 3 cities, your very existence itself is a rebellion. Like every waking moment of your life has to be against something because it's so annoying that the world, the way it is. So how do you draw that line where that, okay, I have to compromise at this point because I want my happiness also and not choose to rebel every single moment of your life?
And I think this is where modern love is different, right? I think I'm very touched by your question because for a lot of queer people, we come up against a point at which we say that I don't want to be an activist. I don't want to fight back against society. I just want to love. And I want that love to be easy and I don't want to have to explain it. And I think in many ways that the work that I do and the work that so many of us do just by loving is making it easier for those who come after us to love a little easier than we did. And I don't know if that's going to be easy in the next 5 years, in the next 10 years, but that's the hope and the aspiration.
One last question. There. Oh, our buzzer went, but there, the little girl at the back.
Whether you think that talking about love only in a romantic aspect or how the ultimate love would be someone you want to spend your life with, do you think that cuts aromantic people out of the conversation? Because I feel like when so much of our focus is on that, then what about people who don't want to find that sort of love? Do they just not get to experience that level of love, or
I think when I started, the first thing I said was that romantic love is not the only kind of love, that it could be love for your parents, for your friend, for your community. I think love comes in many forms. It could be love for your pet dog. I mean, that's as valid as the love for your husband or your partner.
Good to know, Seema. Okay.
And I think love is what you want to make of it. I think every one of us needs love in our life. We all don't necessarily need a husband or wife in our lives. So good luck to all of you in finding that.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Thank
Thank
you,
you,
Maria.
guys. I hope you enjoyed this session, and see you soon.